Aloha Chair, Trustees, aloha nui, e ho'omalu kākou, let us pray. E keli kamakua niki ke loa o ko ke ao holokoa. Ua ano ia kou hinoa ke akua. A ke noi aku ni mākou ia o e kau mai ko aloha maluna o ke ia halawai, a mena halawai a pau ke ia la. Nā luna ho'omalu, a mena kahuai wai, a mena limahana e kokua ana. Most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we come before you gathered in the first meeting of April 2025. We thank you for the ability to just be in your presence. Kia kua, we ask your blessings over the 3 committees meeting today, over our chairs, our vice chairs, our trustees, all of our limahana. Bless our agendas, bless the work before us. And we ask that when the meetings are done, you take us to our respective places. No laila kia kua ke mahalo ka nei mākou ia oe. A mau kai no o Yesu Christo ka ue kalakala e nei ia oe. Amen.
Beautifully done. Thank you. Mahalo. Oh, we doing? We live. We okay. Okay. Aloha, everybody. This meeting can be viewed via live stream on OHA's website at www.oha.org/livestream. If you would like to testify on any agenda item during this Zoom meeting, please raise your hand when that subject is announced. When called upon, please unmute your mic. You will be given the ability to turn your camera on during the testimony. When you're finished, please mute your mic. We're recording today's meeting for the sole purpose of producing written minutes, which will become the official record of this meeting. In order to eliminate any background noise, which can affect the quality of the sound on OHA's live stream and making it difficult to hear the speaker, please mute your device's microphones until you're called on to speak. At the prompting of the chair, BAE staff will do a roll call to determine quorum at the beginning of every meeting. 5 board members present in person and virtually constitutes a quorum. Roll call votes will also be called to determine the board's position on committee matters. Simple majority of committee members will present and constitute the position on any matters that require a vote of its members. Trustees who are joining us by Zoom, we got some. Please enable your cameras for the duration of the meeting if you're able to do so. All other OHA staffers, please enable your cameras when you need to address the committee members. If you would like to speak, please raise your hand. When recognized by the committee chair, please proceed to speak. Lower your hand and mute your mic when you're done. Now, for those trustees joining this remote meeting from a private location, such as your home, state the name of any person 18 years of age or older who's present with you at your location. And trustees, if you need to leave the meeting, inform the chair by announcing that you'll be leaving the meeting, okay? Okay, let's do business. The April 2nd, 2025 meeting of the Committee on Beneficiary Advocacy and Empowerment is being called to order. The time now is 9:04. Yes, Leanne, please call the roll for attendance.
Trustee Ahuna,
Ew.
Trustee Akaka,
Ew.
Trustee Akina is running late. Trustee Alapa, Trustee Kahele, Trustee Lindsay, Trustee Souza, Trustee Waihe'e, Chair Galutaria.
Ew.
You have 7 present.
Okay, mahalo for that. Thank you, trustees. Joining us today is OHA's CEO, Stacy Ferreira, along with some of her administrative staff. I'd like to call on CEO Ferreira to introduce those staff members joining us today, please. Stace.
Mahalo, Chair. Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, trustees. Joining us in person and online, we have Chief Operating Officer Kehau Pu'u, Endowment Director Ryan Lee, Interim Corporation Counsel Everett Ota, Interim Senior Legal Counsel Nichi Ozawa, Senior Director of Strategy and Implementation Elena Farden, Senior Director of Hawaiian Cultural Affairs Pailama Farden, Director of Advocacy Lena Alale, Lead Compliance Specialist Kamakana Ferreira, Director of Communications, Bill Brennan, IT Systems Engineer and Administrator, Daniel Santos, and Arlene Aguinaldo. Mahalo.
Mahalo kapuana. Okay. Next, we will be moving to our first item on the agenda, approval of the minutes. We will be deferring the minutes for March 5th, 2025. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the February 19th, 2025 Committee on Beneficiary Advocacy and Empowerment meeting? Moved by Trustee Alapa, second by Trustee Souza. Okay. Let's see here. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none. Let's have a vote on it. Leanne?
Trustee Ahuna,
Aye.
Trustee Akaka,
Aye.
Trustee Akina is running late. Trustee Alapa, Trustee Kahele, Trustee Lindsay, Trustee Souza, Trustee Waihee is running late. Chair Galutaria.
Aye.
Motion passes 7 votes.
Okay, mahalo for
Aye.
that. I'd like to review our public policy guidelines before we continue. Okay, public testimony should be limited to matters listed on today's meeting agenda. If issues are raised about items not on this agenda, I'll call on Trustee Souza to straighten things out. Only kidding, brother. Gotta lighten up the mood. Lighten up the mood. Your name will be called and your microphone will be unmuted when it's your time to testify. If you're not audible when called upon, you will be muted and the next testifier will be called. State your name, organization, if applicable. The agenda item you'll be speaking on as well. Oral testimony will be limited to 5 minutes. A timer will be on the screen to count down 5 minutes. Your mic will be automatically muted once you've completed your oral testimony and your allotted time for testimony expires. Okay, let's proceed with new business. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting part because I'm very interested in this particular topic, as you folks all should be. You know, repatriation is interesting. For those of you folks who have been involved with it before, it refers to the process of returning something or someone to their place of origin or citizenship. It can apply to people, it can apply to finances, and I'm basically talking to everybody in the room, including those online. And for us Kanaka, repatriation is not just about returning physical objects. It's about healing historical injustices, preserving cultural heritage, and ensuring that future generations can connect with our roots. Yeah. So I'd like to ask our CEO, Stacey Ferreira, and Kamakana Ferreira from our compliance enforcement to present item, is it 3A?
3A. Yes.
Okay.
Mahalo, Chair. I'm also going to ask Elena Fardin, Senior Director of Strategy and Implementation, to come up. No, that's
Hold on.
okay. She'll be speaking
Hold on.
on.
Hold on. Any testifiers in this?
No testifiers.
Okay, my bad. Okay, please continue. Okay, please continue. I'm sorry.
I had them load a PowerPoint and you guys have the printout so you guys can follow along.
To see it on his. Daniel, he needs, Kamakana needs to see it on his laptop. Here we go. Thank you.
Come on, you want to see the whole thing right like that?
Yeah, no, that helps.
Okay, very good.
So we're all on the same page. But yes, I'm providing an informational briefing on an upcoming Office of Hawaiian Affairs repatriation mission to a couple of countries in Europe, as well as some stops on the East Coast before we make a return that's taking place April 22nd to May 3rd. Staff from OHA will include myself, as I've been handling most of these claims, interfacing with these institutions, the Department of State and Department of Interior, for assistance on this. And then I'm also going to be assisted by Kuike in our strategic and implementation team on this. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so the purpose of this trip, I'm gonna go through it case by institution, and then go over the itinerary. First, we will be repatriating 3 iwi kupuna from the Ulster Museum in Northern Ireland. This is actually a continuation from a claim that started in 2021. OHA and actually Haleolaha Ayau was alerted by Council Member Holeka Inaba. He had been working with some Native Americans who was working on repatriations in Ireland, and he had heard about the Ulster Museum having holdings of possible iwi kupuna, and so he had alerted OHA and Hale, and we started working on that in the summer of 2021, and we found out that they actually had a total of 5 iwi kupuna and 5 sacred objects, which included things that were either made of human hair or had human teeth within them. And so we worked with that institution to get those items repatriated in 2022. But at the time, although our claim included a total of 5 iwi kupuna, they were only able to locate 2. Some of that had to do with some of the institution was shut down during COVID, and so they didn't have access to all of their archives, and they also had limited staff at that time. But they did make a commitment that they would search for these iwi kupuna in the future. And so in November of 2024, the institution contacted us, and they said that they had located these additional 3 iwi kupuna. So we started making arrangements. It was approved by their board in early January. And so we will be going back to Ireland to repatriate these 3 iwi kupuna that should have been included in the original claim.
Come on, I got a question.
Sure.
How do these institutions come in to having iwi kupuna in the first place? Before you go and tell us what you're going to be doing, tell us how they actually.
Well, unfortunately, during the 19th century, there was a lot of folks from Europe and the United States that were interested in building ethnological collections. In particular, there was somewhat of a fetish with collecting human skulls and adding them to their collections. So they would come here during that time. And I guess it was opportune for them because, you know, there was a lot going on in the kingdom during that time. We were also, you know, our people were suffering from disease, and people were dying. And so I suppose it was opportune to raid burial caves during those times and take them back to their respective institutions of origin or whoever funded their trips. So I can't say that's the case for everything, but in a lot of the cases I've worked on, that's also often been the case. I've never seen a claim or a case where a family has consented to having basically their ancestors decapitated and taken off to a foreign country.
And how do we find these ancestors? Does institutions get in touch with a formal body like Office of Hawaiian Affairs, or who do we work with? I'm just trying to set the tone for this report for you.
No problem. So the Office of Hawaiian Affairs is usually contacted because we're listed in the NAGPRA. That's the federal statute that governs repatriations from institutions that receive federal funding. And so because we're in that federal statute, and because we've been involved with this matter since the early 90s with Hui Malama, who is also named in the federal statute. They're also named in the state statute as well for historic preservation stuff. So OHA and Hui Malama has built quite a name for ourselves in the international community, and so they don't always know who to contact. Sometimes we rely on information that comes in from beneficiaries. Usually it's through Hale Aloha Ayau. In my time at working in compliance, it's almost been him exclusively providing information on holdings abroad, and then we'd go and investigate, and most of the time he's correct.
Okay, please continue. And trustees, if any of you want, I want this to be a fluid
Yeah.
discussion too. Okay? Okay, very good. Please continue.
Okay, it's fine. Okay, so I went over the Ulster Museum stop. The second stop we're going to be doing, we're going to be going to Berlin, Germany, and we're going to be negotiating a shared stewardship agreement for 2 ki'i that are within the possession of the SPK, which is the Prussian Cultural Heritage Foundation. They're a federal institution in Germany. And it's really a continuation from a claim that started in 2018. Some of you may recall in 2018, OHA had actually sent a delegation with Hale Aloha Ayau to Dresden, Germany. And that was actually the first time there had been a repatriation from Germany. And since then, there's been institutions that have come forward with information about iwi kupuna that they have in their institutions. And so this has resulted in the return of at least 50 kupuna between 2021 and 2022. And so with this, with the SPK, we had a claim with them for 27 iwi kupuna and 12 funerary objects, and they were repatriated in 2022. Now, we basically got everything back in that claim except for 2 ki'i. It's been our argument that those ki'i are also funerary because they were found with the iwi po'o in a sinkhole. However, the SPK believes that they have rightful possession of this ki'i. These 2 ki'i. So we've been negotiating with them how we can get these ki'i back. And so we came up with the idea of potentially doing a shared stewardship agreement where we would share co-ownership with them over these ki'i. And we've been negotiating that since last summer. And I know the colleagues in SPK and their attorneys, they would like to send folks here to Hawaii as well. To negotiate some of this. This is just one step in the process. I think it's very promising though, and we'll be continuing these discussions in April with them in person. And then the final leg of the trip, we'll be stopping in the East Coast to participate in a couple of cultural ceremonies that are taking place in the Peabody Essex Museum and the Smithsonian. These are not our claims actually. Hui iwi kuamo'o, who we are partnering with on this trip, has invited OHA. These are their claims. We have supported, though, the Smithsonian in their efforts to repatriate cultural objects to rightful lineal descendants and also having them curated in appropriate facilities. In this particular case, the Smithsonian has decided to repatriate a couple of cultural items to recognized lineal descendants and also to be housed temporarily at the Hawaii Volcanoes National Park curational facility. Next slide. And just to go over a bit of purpose, this work ties directly into the BOT Executive Policy Manual pertaining to iwi kupuna and international engagement. This also aligns with our strategic plan foundations pertaining to Ohana and Mo'omehu, and also our strategic directions for health outcomes. I mean, a lot of the work that we do in compliance, every time we do the community reports, it always goes under health outcomes. iwi kupuna is a very emotional and emotive topic for our people, and so it's directly tied to that sense of well-being. Next slide, please. So some of you may have questions about why particularly are we collaborating with Hui iwi Kuamo'o. So for those that don't know, they're actually a successor organization to Hui Malama that dissolved in 2014. They're named in federal statute as well as our state statutes pertaining to historic preservation. Historically, since the early 90s, OHA has collaborated with Hui Malama on repatriation claims. And since they dissolved in 2014, there were some claims where we were co-claimants with them. And so when Hui Malama dissolved, we assumed those claims. And so we continued to work on them and closed most of them out. Hui iwi Kuamo'o has also previously represented OHA successfully on continental and international repatriations, particularly during COVID when staff wasn't allowed to travel. Hui iwi Kuamo'o stepped up to finish some of these claims in 2021, and they were delegated authority to do so. They had signed waivers, and they actually paid a lot of that out of pocket. It's not like OHA was paying for it, although we may have been we received some critique about that in comments online. Little do they know is that it was crowdfunded. So other good things about Hui Iwi Komo'o, they've consistently provided OHA with reliable information about iwi kupuna that are held in institutions abroad. It would be nice if OHA could be more proactive in the kind of things, the searches that Hui Iwi Komo'o does. I know personally that Halealoha he sends out inquiries to institutions almost weekly, trying to find out if there's holdings abroad. And so he gets some of that information, he turns it over to OHA, and we see where we can help. Like if we need to step in and claim, or if they can claim it on their own. It's gotten to a point now, though, where a lot of institutions haven't really needed OHA as a co-claimant, and has allowed Hui Iwi Komo'o to do a lot of this stuff on their own. And I've just kind of like supervised the correspondences. So yeah, as I just stated, Hui Iwi Komo'o continues to file claims independent of OHA for sacred objects and iwi on the continent and abroad. And so as we are partnering with Hui Iwi Komo'o on these repatriations, they have invited OHA to participate in repatriation ceremonies for their claims from the Smithsonian and the Peabody Essex Museum. And it seemed to make sense to maximize the travel in that way, because we're going to Europe and we need to there's no direct flights from Europe back to Hawaii, so we'd have to stop somewhere on the continent anyway. So it seemed to make sense to stop in the East Coast to participate in these ceremonies.
Okay,
You have a question?
question? Okay, well, firstly, hold on. Trustee, Vice Chair, did you have something that you wanted to add before Trustee Aquina?
Yes, I have a few questions. So, where are the EV and the funerary mea and the sacred mea going to be rehomed when they return?
Well, as I shared about the sacred objects, they'll be temporarily curated at the Hawaii Volcanoes National Park facility.
All of them will be there?
The sacred objects will be there.
Okay, that's the hair and the niho.
No, there'll be 2 akua hulu manu and an ahu ula that'll be repatriated, and it'll be going to a facility at the Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. And those, again, those are not our claims. We don't have say over that disposition, although we did support the idea of returning those items to recognized lineal descendants and having them at a recognized facility back in Hawaii rather than all the way on the East Coast.
Okay, and what has been the process of hui malama and the process of hui iwi komo'o normally when it comes to the items returning? Are they're not just housed in a specific place and then waiting to be placed elsewhere, or is that the case?
It's always been when OHA has partnered with Hui Malama and now Hui Iwi Komo'o, it has always been the preference to have iwi reburied right away upon return, and we often do that in collaboration with descendants here or members of the burial councils. In the prior repatriations we've done with Hui Iwi Komo'o in 2021 and 2022, that's how it went down. Actually, the former, because some of those iwi were from Maui, the former burial council chair from Maui was actually on those trips. And yeah, I hope that does that answer your question?
Kind of, sort of. Yeah.
Well, I'd rather not disclose specific information about reburials.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that they are treated with the loving care that they should, and they're not just being compiled into a single place without the intention for them to be returned as they should.
I can share, though, from personally having participated in these ceremonies on behalf of OHA, it's been very respectful and dignified.
Thank you. And who are those that are involved in Hui Iwi Komo'o?
Well, so the former executive director of Hui Malama, Halelo Hayao, is also the director for Hui Iwi Komo'o. And he's worked closely with Mana and Kalehua Caceres, who we've also delegated authority to in the past. When I was mentioning when we weren't traveling for COVID, we had delegated them on behalf of OHA to represent us on claims and to retrieve items.
Okay, and one more thought, you know, when there's mention of the Smithsonian on the East Coast, while I appreciate a lot of the how they have things set up there, I do have concerns in terms of the appropriateness in this day and age. It seems to me unfathomable that they still have certain funerary items still displayed and mummies and so forth. And it's really sad to think that our EV are overseas where they shouldn't be, and that whether it's the Office of Foreign Affairs, NAGPRA, or whomever, I think that the Smithsonian needs to do a better job in terms of the removal of certain items on display for the public to see, and they should be going back to their respective homes. I understand that the Native American, I think they call it the American Indian Museum, part of their intentions through the years have been to return the various items back to the different tribal groups. And I hope that that will be something that all Smithsonians will be in alignment. But I know that we have, the Smithsonians are going through their own trials and tribulations.
Oh, yeah, right
currently.
now, sure.
Yeah.
I
with the
think there
administration.
is hope. There's a lot of new blood in the institutions now that are much more interested and cognizant of correcting past injustices.
Mhm.
Um, if, Speaking from personal experience, I feel like repatriations have definitely gotten easier in the last couple of years because of these new individuals that are there. And I can tell you that the Smithsonian, the talks about these sacred items coming back actually came about because the Smithsonian is trying to establish an ethical return policy, where it's not
Wonderful.
just things that are applicable to NAGPRA. It's like they'll repatriate nearly anything that's considered ceremonial upon receiving a valid claim. And so I think that's commendable. There are other institutions that are also trying to adopt ethical return policies, and I think that's a good thing.
Right. I know that we do have those of Native Hawaiian descent involved in the Asian American portion of the Smithsonian, and I know that they have vocalized these things, but I think there needs to be um, a gathering of minds so that there's more pressure put on the Smithsonian to do what's right here. And one other question regarding sorry, you know what? I'll ask after. Yeah.
Okay, we'll go to, well, trustee Akina and then trustee Waihe.
Mahalo for the work you're doing and what your colleagues are doing. I have a question about our formal relationship with the other organization,
Kui'iwi Kuamoa.
Kuamo'o. Do we have an MOU or a formal agreement outlining our roles and the limits of our roles, our liabilities, and so forth?
We do not have a formal agreement with them. In the past, when they've been delegated authority, they have signed waivers. But no, we don't have any formal agreement document with that organization.
I just may commend to CEO perhaps to look into it. Thank you. And one other question. Who will be going on the repatriation trip and what will the budget be? How many people do you have in mind?
So from OHA, it'll be myself and Kuike from Strategy and Implementation. And we are also paying for 3 members of Hui'iwi Kuamo'o. So that's a total of 5. And we actually had put in a budget request last May, and it got approved, I think, for about $63,000. But I think the current trip total came out to about $30,000 for 5 individuals. But Hui'iwi Kuamo'o are also paying for at least 10 other individuals. They're individuals that they're training, and there are also individuals that will be handling cultural protocols for their claims. So OHA's portion of cost is actually fairly small compared to everything else that's being paid for. I mean, Hui'iwi Kuamo'o is also paying for the crates to bring back these sacred objects, it's quite substantial.
Okay, trustee Waihe?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is Hui'iwi Kuamo'o, are they
recognized as claimants under NIPRA?
Well, they're recognized as a Native Hawaiian organization, and it's within their right to file claims as such. And it's up to the federal institution to decide whether or not they qualify.
Okay. At one time, I don't, well, I'm thinking at one time, Hui Malama and OHA were recognized as claimants under NIPRA. Is that not a thing that happens
Well,
anymore, or?
as I had mentioned before, so Hui Malama and OHA are actually specifically called out in NAGPRA. Maybe that's what you're referring to. What that basically means is that we are examples of Native Hawaiian organizations that can be consulted or participate.
Right.
It's not exclusive to us. I think it's been misinterpreted several times that, oh, because OHA and Hui Malama are in there, that it's exclusive to us. That's not the case. And well, since Hui Malama has dissolved, it's not even applicable to them anymore. I mean, Hui Iwi Kumo has come up to take their place, but they're not formally recognized in statute the way that we are.
Oh, okay. Did they, okay, I wondered if the reason why they, if they weren't is because they dissolved. Because I knew who Malama was, so that was what I was wondering. Oh,
Well, in this particular case, it was up to the Smithsonian to decide whether or not, well, actually, it wasn't solely Hui Iwi Kumo. They did in partnership as well with the Edith Kanakaole Foundation. And it was up to the Smithsonian to decide, as vested by NAGPRA. It's the federal institution's decision to see if they qualify or not. And it was their decision that they did, not OHA's. So.
I just want to clarify, Kamakana. Isn't OHA the only agency that has standing?
In the international arena, that may be argued because of our constitutional and statutory mandate to represent the interests of Native Hawaiians. It's a unique situation, and we're also quite different from tribes on the mainland. And I think in the international arena, it's different from country to country. But in certain cases, like Germany and the United Kingdom, for example, because that's where we're going in this particular case, they prefer to have claims given back to a government organization. And because OHA is technically also a state agency, we've often been recognized in that regard, and that's why we've been heavily involved in those cases. Some other countries, like Japan, for example, they do not necessarily require interface with a state institution for repatriation. Hui Iwi Kumo actually just did a repatriation from the University of Tokyo without the need for OHA to file a claim, and that's their country's prerogative to decide.
I see. So is it still a fact that Halealoha serves on NAGPRA?
He currently serves as the chair for the NAGPRA Review Committee. I don't believe he's used that as part of the claims that they've been making as Hui Iwi Kumo, but it certainly helps if they
Yes.
observe people who are non-compliant within the United States. So.
I think so. Thank you.
okay, mahalo. Vice Chair?
Going back to the claims by Germany and the co-stewardship, do you feel that those are valid claims that they have?
Well, that's OHA's claim with the institution and SBK. And as I explained before, we basically got everything back that we had requested in that claim, except for these two ki'i. There's been a difference of legal opinions. We've had a lot of discussions with their attorneys, and they're very adamant that they have rightful possession. I'm not really going to get into the technical details of that, but that is why this was a compromise that was developed, that perhaps we can co-share ownership, in which there'd be a period of time where these ki'i would reside in Hawaii and a period of time where they would reside in Berlin. And that was the compromise that we've been able to achieve at this time.
And you're saying these ki'i are ki'i that accompany those that were buried?
That has been our argument because they were found in a sinkhole with an iwi po'o. So Under federal statute, if it was in the United States, I think it would have been a slam dunk case for them being funerary. But because this is international and NAGPRA does not apply to them, there's a degree of interpretive response there. So
And we have we've had legal teams that have looked at this from our end to argue it, because I
we've
feel it's
not-
arguable.
we've not interfaced with our legal counsel on this. I mean, we could certainly pull them into the discussions, but we're not trying to take the approach where we're taking this to some kind of international court that may bog this down into something that might not be successful for us and could take years. Which is why this idea of shared stewardship, which is a fairly progressive thing in institutions that are coming about, much like ethical return policies, this idea of shared stewardship is coming around to offer the chance for institutions to work with Native peoples on their holdings. So, I mean, because there are some things that were rightfully given to institutions or individuals that were donated. And so this is an opportunity, though, to kind of share responsibility for the care of those objects. And so we are participating in that sense without having to go down a legal route at this time.
Mahalo. Well, one other thing, I just want to mahalo you for all the work that you've been doing on this through the years. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Plus, you're navigating a very complex legal system too. And so you gotta know what you're doing. Kapuhana, do you have something to add?
Yes, I wanted to ask Elena to come to the table so she could share Kuike's role on the trip. They have, Kamakana and Kuike have very distinct kuleana for the trip.
Sure, mahalo for this time. Our director for SNI, Kuike, is on vacation leave at this time, so I'm here on his behalf. So there are 5 critical and compelling reasons on which he should be attending this trip with Kamakana. So the first is our cultural and spiritual stewardship. As a recognized cultural practitioner, Kuike provides leadership in spiritual protocol and ceremony. The return of iwi kupuna and the mea kapu must be guided by those who hold this ike kupuna and can conduct the proper rituals to ensure dignity, safety, and spiritual continuity. Without this, we do risk spiritual harm and cultural dissonance, both of which OHA has kuleana to protect. The second is genealogical connection and legitimacy. So Kuike has direct lineal descendant to the iwi kupuna and the mea kapu in question. He has genealogical ties that are irrefutable, credibility, and spiritual authority to this repatriation. So it affirms our rightful claim, and this is not symbolic. It's necessary to affirm that these kupuna are returning to their ohana and not a disassociated institution. The third critical and compelling reason is complementary and non-redundant roles. So the mission requires both our cultural and legal precision, while our compliance officer, Kamakana, is going to ensure regulatory adherence with NAGPRA and other federal coordination. Kuike's role will be ancestral, ceremonial, and cultural integrity. These roles are distinct, they're interdependent, but without one or the other, it really weakens the efficacy and integrity of the repatriation process. Fourth is institutional representation and sacred responsibilities. Kuike's role during this time with the consultations, he'll represent OHA's leadership in the high-level discussions with SPK officials and also embodying the institutional voice and cultural intention. And then the last is sacred kuleana and accountability to future generations. We believe very firmly that this journey is not merely travel. We know it's difficult and hard work, but it is a sacred return. So our ancestors call us home, and it's our duty to answer with integrity, humility, and preparedness. So being able to support and approve this request affirms OHA's role, not only as an institution, but living expression of Native Hawaiian leadership and accountability. So thank you for your time. If there's any specific questions, I'll have you defer to our compliance officer or Kapuhana.
Okay, very good. Mahalo. Trustees, any other questions or comments regarding this presentation? No? Seeing none. I'd like to ask, okay, Trustee Akina.
Thank you, and thank you for the explanation of what will go on the trip. Kamakana and Kuike will certainly have their hands full. Just a suggestion. I wonder if someone with a communications mindset should accompany them to document, film, get interviews, etc. This sounds like it could be a very rich experience.
I think to that,
That's so typically in these repatriations, we have interface with our communications team. I've already prompted them about what's going on because last time there was a lot of press coverage. It was covered by the BBC and the New York Times. It was very positive for OHA. And so you are absolutely correct that they are a valuable part of being part of this. In terms of them actually coming on the trip, Hui Komo'o will have their own photographer as well, because they also believe in the outreach with the press. It's an important part. It's not about gloating, it's about awareness. And there have been many times where this awareness, especially in the media in these other countries, it's allowed other institutions to come forward when they see it. And so that is the benefit to that.
okay. One final thought, one final question. Do we leave as we remove ourselves from that space? Do we leave something for them to remember us by? Do we leave a kahili, a makana of some kind that they can display? So we're over there too. Hawaii is there.
So, well, Kuika is being prepared to bring makana for these institutions. Typically, we have in the past, it's included things like leis, sometimes replica figures, ki'i, and it's different in each situation. You bring up a good point, though, about bringing something for these institutions to also display. That's something that is being discussed with various institutions that's trying to be encouraged with various indigenous communities to get them more involved. And it also speaks to that whole idea about shared stewardship. So in this particular case, I don't believe we're giving these institutions anything like a replica. I think Hui'iwi Kuamo'o might be doing that with the Smithsonian. I'd have to check with them. Again, that's not our claim. But I do know that they are bringing makana.
Okay. As long as OHA, shares some kind of gift. Think about it, what that means. Okay, and let us know.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else, trustees? Seeing none? No? Already? Okay, mahalo. Mahalo, Kamakana. Thank you so much. Okay, let's move on to our legislative items. I'd like to call on Lena Ala Lei, our chief advocate, to take us through discussion on the agenda items B through J. Okay? Okay, first of all, this is on 2025 OHA State Legislative Package Matrix 1. Before we pass it over to Lena Ala, Leon, are there any testifiers on this subject?
We have one testifier, Jermaine Myers.
Okay. Jermaine, are you on? And bear in mind that this is information only. No vote will be taken on this particular matter. So, Jermaine.
Were you saying something to me? I couldn't hear you. I was going through panelists.
You want to testify on Matrix 1, Jermaine?
I do.
Okay, please proceed.
Mahalo, Chair. Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and trustees. My name is Jermaine Myers. I'm an OHA beneficiary for Beneficiary Advocacy and Empowerment. I'm also a Nanakuli Hawaiian Homestead lessee. Matrix 1, item number 4, SCR 161/SR 130. OHA convened a working group to examine and consider the transfer of the Burial Council from the State Historic Preservation Division to OHA. The chair of the Hawaii Affairs Committee on the Senate deferred this bill since HCR 193/HR 186 is still moving through that would accomplish the same purpose. Next, I'd like to testify on item number 3, HCR 193/HR 186, The bill that examine and consider if OHA should manage the Burial Council. My data views and arguments about OHA managing the Burial Council. Will it be effective under OHA's management? Currently, the Molokai Burial Council have 5 seats. All seats are vacant. Therefore, in the past 8 years, they only had 3 meetings, according to testifier Maui Councilwoman Kiani Rollins. The governor submitted for only 3 seats to be filled, which was on yesterday's Hawaiian Affairs Committee agenda, but then the governor pulled back a nominee. It was sad to see that one person that was proceeding through the advise and consent process yesterday asked to be withdrawn, since there would never be quorum without at least 3 of the 5 seats filled. On every other island, Oahu, Hawaii, Kauai, and Maui, there are 9 seats on each burial council. Yet I checked and 4 seats are vacant. If one member is absent of the 5 remaining, then there's no quorum for action to be taken. The burial council is being held ineffective by the inactions of the governor, but also the lack of holding him accountable by state legislatures in the Senate and in the House, and OHA trustees on each island. Where's the advocacy by the state holding the state governor accountable for his inactions? Transferring the burial council to OHA will not negate or eliminate the primary problem. The fact that the governor has the power to choose who is appointed to the burial council and when, and yet he fails to appoint burial council members on a timely basis to ensure quorum and actions are effectuated by each burial council. I look forward to testifying on the next agenda item, Matrix 2, as well as community concerns. Kia kuapu, God bless all of you.
Thank you, mahalo, Jermaine. Okay, Leonela, your turn. Please proceed.
Aloha, good morning. I'm gonna let Kapuhana take the first OHA package bill, our budget, to provide an update about what happened in the last hearing and what we might hope for as it moves into conference.
Mahalo lei. So our budget bill went to WAM on Tuesday, and it passed out with amendments. And so WAM chair basically is moving forward with OHA 175, which is our Beneficiary Advocacy Empowerment appropriation, and it'll be $3 million for fiscal year 26 and $3 million for fiscal year 27. Because the House passed it unamended and WAM passed it with amendments, it now goes to conference. And so we are hopeful that we'll have a different result than what Ways and Means put forth.
Was it significant changes?
So we didn't get the cost of inflation increase or the S&I personnel costs.
I see. Okay. Lei?
And then the second bill was our Island Burial Council composition bill. And Stacy and I met with the chair of the House Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs Committee last week and the vice chair, Tarnas and Poi Poi, and had a discussion with them about the bill, but it is not getting scheduled in time for it to make the next deadline. And Chair Tarnas shared his perspective that, you know, there should be more consensus in the community. He thought based on the testimony that had been submitted in prior committees, even though it was overwhelmingly in favor of our bill, there were still a number of testifiers who had burial council experience who testified in opposition, and he wanted to see us have a little a little more outreach, and it'll be in effect again next session since it's a biennium, but it's not going to move forward this session.
So he's kind of low on this.
Yes.
And he's also invited us to work with him over the interim on this particular bill to try to see where we can get consensus.
Okay, very good. Please continue.
And then, you know, respectfully to correct something that the testifier said, our resolution did pass out of both sides. There was another resolution heard by Hawaiian Affairs on the Senate side yesterday that was a bill asking OHA to do a study on Mauna Ala, and that one was deferred with the understanding that we will share with Chair Richards our phase 2 due diligence study that's already underway that this board has approved. But the resolution is moving forward on both sides with an amendment originally put forth by SHPD that we agreed to, which was to expand the community representation component of the working group to be a little larger than originally envisioned so that there's more community seats on the working group.
Okay, you know, tomorrow's second crossover, right?
Thursday, yeah.
Third,
Thursday, yeah,
yeah,
tomorrow.
oh, it's Thursday, right?
Yeah,
Tomorrow.
tomorrow is Thursday.
Anything significant we got to know about?
Well, just that as our burial council one is the main one, SB 268, that is not going to make that deadline.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So those are all the updates on this matrix. And then on the next matrix, we'll talk about SB 903, which has in effect replaced what was our public land trust working group bill.
All right. This is information only, everyone. Trustee Souza, you have something?
Yes, mahalo, Mr. Chair. Mahalo Lane, Ala, and Stacy and the team. And I have two questions, Mr. Chair. The first one is in regards to SB 269. First of all, the red means the bill is dead.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
that's the Senate companion to our
Yes.
budget is dead.
Yes.
Okay, so it wasn't just amended. Yeah.
So typically they introduce two bills at the beginning of session, but it's
Right.
always the House bill that moves for the
Okay.
budget. It's always an H.
Okay. Oh, okay, got it. So when we go to conference, what is the likelihood that the verbiage will be added back in to reflect the alternating positions, S&I, as well as
Well, that's the conference negotiation, right? And,
Yeah.
you know, our hope is that Chair Yamashita, who passed it out unamended, will advocate for OHA, because obviously, you know, his membership believed that it was a fair, you know, ask and reasonable one. So, you know, he'll have to negotiate that with the WAM chair.
Mahalo, Stace. Second question, Mr. Chair, if I may. In regards to Iwi Kupuna, do we know why Gov denied the names? Do we have any idea that was presented?
So if I can take a step back before I answer that question. So by HRS, OHA is required, we have one part of that process in terms of the burial council nominations. So OHA we recruit and we vet potential council members. We bring those names to the board. The board also does their review and decision making. And then we send that to the governor's office. So that's our part, and it stops there, and that's our purview. The second part of that process resides between the Senate, the governor's office, and boards and commissions, and they have purview on that back end. So OHA does not weigh in. Similarly, those three entities don't weigh in on our process on the front end, right? It's very distinct and separate. So on the back end, you know, just as our trustees have an opportunity to discuss the names of the individuals and weigh in, similarly on the Senate side, when names come over and go to the governor's office, you know, they do advise and consent, but they can even do it. You know, they can be you know, asking questions, interviewing, and for most of you, you understand that advising consent, much of that process happens before they sit at the hearing, right? They actually go to the offices, they meet with the various members, they have an opportunity to introduce themselves, talk about their backgrounds, and then there's this informal kuka that happens as well. And at the end of the day, the governor, it is his purview to make that determination on which names go forward. Similar to our board on the front end, you folks have that purview to say who goes forward. And, you know, it's not OHA's Juliana to tell the governor who he can or cannot put forth.
Right. Thank you for clearing that up, because there were some beneficiaries that reached out. So at least to clear up what the process is and how involved we can be and up to what step. My question would be, I mean, obviously there was testimony in support or opposition for these individuals. Do we know of any that was in opposition and that could have been the reason? And what? No, at this point, we don't know.
I will say that the one name that did go forward to advise and consent came from OHA. So I want to congratulate the board for doing an amazing job of vetting a candidate that was quality and had, you know, lots of support going into the hearing and actually at the hearing. You know, the other two candidates came through the DLNR process. And again, you know, we don't get into the mix of DLNR and their process. And again, once it goes over to the Senate and to the governor, that's their purview. But we're not aware, we don't have that level of intel. Okay. And again, it's really up to the governor and his discretion on what he wants to disclose, if at all.
Yeah, okay. No, appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Trustee.
No, thank you. Thank you.
Trustee Lindsay?
I just wanted to ask what agencies get to nominate people to give to the governor?
OHA and DLNR.
Okay.
Are the formal processes to get names forwarded. But to Trustee Ohuna's point, I mean, anybody can submit a name, right? An agency, an individual.
Thank you.
Correct.
Okay. All right, any other questions, trustees? Okay, any other final comments on Matrix 1? Oh,
No, mahalo.
okay, let's move to the Matrix 2. All right, these are positions on bills naming OHA. Leanne, are there any testifiers on this subject?
Yes, Chair, we have Jermaine Myers.
All right, Jermaine, are you there?
Aloha, Chair.
Hey,
May I
aloha.
give testimony on Matrix 2?
Yes, it's time. You're on.
Okay, mahalo. Aloha, my name is Jermaine Myers. Mahalo for the opportunity to testify on Matrix 2. Item number 3, SB 903, appropriates monies to the Office of Hawaiian Affairs to facilitate the hiring of necessary staff and the purchase of equipment and professional services on behalf of the Public Land Trust Working Group. When I testified at the last BAE meeting, I was happy that the bill was changed in the House Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs Committee when they removed all the verbiage of the global settlement and recommended the completing of the work of the Public Land Trust Working Group with appropriations of $1 million. This was based on the House Standing Committee report of the Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs Committee and HD1 amendments to the bill. Unfortunately, and to my dismay, the HD1 House Standing Committee report from the Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs Committee was completely changed. I have the original HD1 HSCR and the one that was amended and posted on the legislative website today. Trustees, SB 903 for a global settlement is moving forward today. The House Finance Committee is reviewing a proposed draft HD2 at today's Finance Committee hearing at 3:30 p.m. The proposed HD2 reinserted the global settlement verbiage back into the bill. But not just that, the membership of the Global Settlement Working Group will give the state the majority advantage of 4 members, 2 appointed by the governor, 1 from the Senate and 1 from the House. OHA was reduced from 4 members to 3 members. In addition, the appropriations was reduced from $1 million to $500,000. If OHA initiated a financial review in fiscal year 2015 and 2016 of the public land trust revenue, the results of the financial review, they had done a review, and the results of the review showed that the 20% of gross revenue due to OHA should be 78.9 million. The state never accepted this amount, never accept the findings of this financial review by OHA, hence the purpose of the Public Land Trust Working Group. Unless the state provides full funding, the state will potentially challenge OHA's involvement of an OHA claiming bias. If the state refuses to return the Hawaiian Kingdom's 1.8 million acres of Crown and government lands back to the Hawaiian people, then they must continue to pay OHA its proper pro rata share of 20% annually and in perpetuity. In addition, OHA's bylaws should be amended that a global settlement should require a unanimous vote of all 9 OHA trustees, not 5, not 6, but all 9. That way, a lawsuit by the Lahui can be effectuated against OHA and all 9 trustees for its breach of trust if it should accept a global settlement with the state still occupying our Crown and government lands. The Finance Committee posted earlier this morning the testimony submitted on Senate Bill 903 and its proposed HD2 version of the bill. OHA submitted testimony. I recommend all trustees review OHA's testimony. It opposes the current form, and yet it recommends amendments to pass the bill. Why is OHA making comments to move this bill along when the full Board of Trustees did not have input on these comments that lead someone to believe that OHA is in support of Senate Bill 903 and its global settlement moving into conference committee? I look forward to providing my community concerns. Ke akua pu. God bless all of you.
Hey, mahalo, Jermaine. I'm always impressed at your political acumen. Mahalo nui loa. Trustee Ahuna, you have something to share?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just have a question. I don't understand. What is a global settlement?
A global settlement is what you make it. You know, and that's a work in progress, constant work in progress. One side comes, the other side comes. One side comes, the other side comes. At this particular point, I know about this board has never entertained any talk to global settlement.
Yeah, the reason why I came up with the question is that's our constitutional mandate. They owe that. It's not. There's no such thing as a settlement. She kind of right. I mean, what Jermaine is saying,
she's right.
I just trying to say, I'm not surprised that this is all going on. This is how they take, and this is how they try to provide solutions to Native Hawaiians. So, I mean, all I'm trying to say is there's no such thing as a global settlement. We're supposed to be getting what we're supposed to get from our Constitution. That's our mandate. The reason why it's not coming to us because this doesn't come to us. They still owe. They still owe. It's not up to us. It's up to them to give it to us.
Thank you, mahalo. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. Trustee, did you want to say something? Trustee Lindsay?
I did want to say, I mean, you know, they've been trying to do this global settlement with us for umpteen years. I go back to 2016, and we've always said that that's never going to be on the table because it would be a breach of our fiduciary duties as trustees, and that we should never use that as a strategy of any kind of work with the legislature. That should never be on the table.
Could I provide some context, or do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, let Trustee Akaka go first.
One other thing to add to that, I believe 20% grossly undermines what is so to, because if in lieu of the lands, then we should just get the lands back, should be 100%. That is my view on it.
Now, to put everything in context, it's a work in progress going on at the legislature. So a lot of sleight of hand going on, as you guys well know. I mean, this is I like to call it political jujitsu going on right now. But I think Lena Ala can explain what's going to happen perhaps today. Kapuana and Lei, why don't you share with the board what's going to happen today?
Yes, so I agree with Jermaine. I welcome the trustees to read the testimony that was filed yesterday, and the hearing is this afternoon at 3:30. So I'm planning to go in person and can reflect any further thoughts. But the gist of our testimony was to oppose the language regarding final settlement. But remember, this is a bill that does have the funding for the Public Land Trust Working Group Audit and Inventory. So what our testimony says is we oppose the bill in its current form because of the settlement language. But because it has the Public Land Trust Working Group Audit and Inventory, we want this vehicle to move with all language related to settlement struck out, and that language replaced with just the finding of the auditors with respect to an annual payment. So instead of final settlement, it would say annual payment amount as the goal of the final product of this audit and inventory. So I think what we submitted is in line with what the trustees are asking for, and it's just been a little bit of back and forth. Jermaine is correct. We did not ask to hold and kill the bill because it is the funding mechanism for the Public Land Trust Working Group. So we're asking for it to be amended again to replace any reference to settlement with annual payment and to move it forward in that form. So depending on what happens today, and I'm happy, I'm not sure what the proper format would be, but to update the trustees after the hearing today, yeah, whether our amendments, our proposed amendments are adopted by the committee. If they aren't adopted by the committee, then certainly we can talk about during conference if we're going to just try and kill the bill outright, because at that point, you know, it might be too dangerous to keep it alive just for the funding mechanism. And at that point, we might want to be trying to kill it. But at this point, we are trying to just revise it to go back to the original intent of the working group to determine what is the formula for the annual payment, which we do want third-party professionals to weigh in on.
Trustee Lindsay?
I just want to add that also in this bill that's going to be heard today, they've changed the recommended change of the working group. So now it's one from the Senate, one from the House. They're taking one of the governor's members off the working group, and there'll be two from the governor. So that's four. And then we will have three. And it's going to be lopsided, 4-3. So we are asking for the one that's taken off from the governor to come, let's say, another one for us so that at least it's 4-4. It's been 3-3 all these last 2 years. But the 4-3 doesn't seem fair because we'll be overwhelmed with an extra vote.
Okay. Everybody clear on what's going to be happening next? Okay. Kapuana.
Another significant amendment is that we are putting forth matching funds in both fiscal years of $500,000. So that has been added into our budget as a placeholder in the case that this bill does get passed.
So after today, we'll have some hard discussions going forward, but I know we're willing to tackle that. So are we done with Matrix 2? You got some more for Matrix 2? Or have we started with Matrix 2?
So if I'm happy to answer any other questions. We just tried to update it with additional information on the resolutions as requested. So that was new information, but essentially everything else is the same.
Okay. I believe we have to vote on this. Okay. Okay, well, I need a motion to adopt and amend the approval of
So
the steps.
Everett's suggesting,
What are we talking about now?
so so formally the matrix that says comments for SB 903 that we were just discussing, but in the event that our amendments that we just discussed are not adopted, would the board approve us opposing the bill rather than commenting on it? Well, yes, it was opposed, but still trying to move it with amendments, as opposed to if the amendments don't get adopted, then we would be opposing it in the sense of trying to kill it. kill the bill.
Okay, so that's we're gonna require,
So that would be in the motion to amend the matrix to give us the leeway, I guess, to
Yeah.
oppose it completely in the future.
that makes sense. Okay, so I'll need a motion to amend the approval of staff's recommendations for positions on bills naming OHA in Matrix 2. Hear a motion?
So move.
Okay, trustee Ahuna? Okay, it's second by trustee Alapa. Okay, discussion? Everett, you got something you want to add? No, we're on 2.
Oh, maybe it's incorrectly listed twice. It's also on matrix 2, item 3. So maybe, sorry, we can just
Okay,
have
good
it
eye.
on that one.
Thank you. Everett,
If I could maybe just, Chair, ask that the motion reflect the change in position for SB 903 from comment as provided on the matrix to the oppose. And that just that additional clarification be included in the motion before the board.
okay, let the motion reflect that if the people who made the motion don't mind. Okay, very good. Okay, any more discussion in this way? Matrix 2. No? Okay, let's have a vote. Leanne?
Trustee Ahuna.
Aye.
Trustee Akaka.
Aye.
Trustee Akina.
Aye.
Trustee Alapa. Trustee Kahele. Trustee Lindsay. Trustee Souza.
Aye.
Trustee Oihee.
Yes.
Chair Galutaria.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimous, 9 votes.
Paulo, thank you, board. Okay, let's move to the OHA position on bills affecting the public land trust matrix 3. Leanne, any testifiers?
No testifiers, Chair.
Okay, very good. Leanne, Lena, Allah, please. Matrix 3.
So we've discussed both these bills previously. These are just protecting our interest in the ceded lands corpus and making sure that any exchange of land out still retains the new lands that are exchanged in it as part of the public land trust.
Okay.
So with respect to SB 739, one of our amendments previously proposed did adopt that change, like I said, to keep any exchange land qualified as public land trust. It did not take our proposed amendment to make transfers subject to the 2/3 vote of the legislature, but it is going to have to go before the Board of Land and Natural Resources, which is another opportunity for community testimony before any exchange is made. So that's an improvement.
Okay, trustees, any comments or questions? Trustee Aquino.
On SB 739, have we requested legal review or clarification from the AG about the potential implications for our entitlements or fiduciary responsibilities?
No, we have not. We did previously request that it be subject to HRS 171-67.4. I might be quoting that wrong, but from our HCDA lawsuit settlement in terms of the protections on any exchange out of the public lands trust, that has not been adopted to date. We can still advocate for that in conference. But we haven't had a formal legal opinion other than we haven't had a formal legal opinion.
Board council will be looking at that.
We could share it. I mean, the position we put forth is what OHA's position has been previously, to have it subject to HRS 171-67.4 to make sure. I'm quoting that statutory subsection incorrectly, I think, but it's the HCDA lawsuit settlement subsection that requires 2/3 vote of the legislature before any transfer takes place. So we're still advocating to have that provision, which has previously been, OHA's guardrail for any transfer out. So we are trying to get that included. That is our advocacy on this bill.
Thank you.
Trustee Lindsay, I see your hand up. No. All right. I'll need a motion. Any more discussion, board? Okay, I'll need a motion to adopt and amend the approval of staff's recommendations for positions on bills affecting the public land trust in Matrix 3. Okay, Vice Chair moved, second by Trustee Lindsay. Any final discussions? Okay, let's have the vote. Lan?
Trustee Ahuna.
Aye.
Trustee Akaka. Trustee Akina.
Aye.
Trustee Alapa. Trustee Kahele. Trustee Lindsay. Trustee Souza. Trustee Wahe'e. Chair Galutaria. Passes unanimously, 9 votes. Aye.
Okay, mahalo for that. Let's move on.
If I could
to-
just, sorry, quote correctly, the statutory subsection is 171-64.7. That is the provision that was added after the HCBA lawsuit. I just wanted to quote it correctly. I'm not sure if I was quoting it
Oh,
correctly.
you wanted clarity?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move to the next item, which is OHA positions on bills affecting natural resources and Native Hawaiian traditional and customary practices. Leanne, any testifiers? Pardon me? None? Okay. Let's see here. Okay, I want to make a motion first. Let's have a motion before we proceed with any discussion, okay? No, forget that. Let's just go to the report. Go ahead, Leonala. Matrix 4.
So these have been on the matrix for a while now, so I don't know if there's any questions. We have gotten beneficiary inquiries about what's going on with Red Hill, and we're continuing to support the creation of the VISE subunit within Department of Land and Natural Resources, which would have positions specifically dedicated to overseeing the Red Hill cleanup and providing that forum for the community to get information and know what's going on. So we're continuing to support that bill. Yeah, that's the main one that we've heard from beneficiaries about. I can answer any questions.
Is that it? Yeah, board, any questions for? All right, then let's have a motion to approve the approval of staff's recommendations for positions on bills affecting natural resources and Native Hawaiian traditional and customary practices in Matrix 4. Motion? Trustee Lindsay, thank you. Second? Second by Trustee Akaka. All right, any other discussion on this? If not, we're going to have a vote. Okay, Lee.
Trustee Ahuna. Trustee Akaka. Trustee Akina.
Aye.
Trustee Alapa.
Aye.
Trustee Kahele. Trustee Lindsay. Trustee Souza. Trustee Wahe'e.
Yes.
Chair Galutaria.
Aye.
Passes unanimously, 9 yes votes.
Okay, mahalo, trustees. Okay, let's go to Matrix 5, OHA position on bills affecting Native Hawaiian housing. Any testifiers, Leanne?
No testifiers.
No testifiers, okay. Leonala, please proceed.
So there's no new bills. We have been supporting, I know the board had conversation about the Kauhale initiative, the Department of Hawaiian Homelands bills. They're both moving with reduced numbers like everything else right now because of budget concerns. The numbers are getting reduced, but they're still moving, and we're continuing to support all of these.
Okay, any questions or comments, trustees? Okay, seeing none, we'd like a motion to adopt the approval of staff's recommendations for position on bills affecting Native Hawaiian housing in Matrix 5. Second. Moved by Vice Chair Akaka and second by Trustee Wahe'e. Any further discussion, members? Okay, Leanne?
Trustee Ahuna.
Aye.
Trustee Akaka.
Aye.
Trustee Akina.
Aye.
Trustee Alapa.
Aye.
Trustee Kahele. Trustee Lindsay. Trustee Souza.
Aye.
Trustee Wahe'e.
Yes.
Chair Galutaria.
Aye.
Unanimous, 9 yes votes.
All aboard. Thank you. Okay, we're moving to the OHA position on bills affecting Native Hawaiian health, Matrix 6. Leanne, any testifiers?
No testifiers.
Okay, mahalo for that. Linala.
So there are a few changed one change position and a few new bills on page 35. So starting at item 29, relating to the one relating to midways, this is just the vehicle that's still alive to support the exemption for traditional and customary birth practitioners, which the board had formally supported. The community's bill died. This one moved ahead in its place, but we continue to advocate for an exemption to protect those birth practitioners so that they're not subject to regulation that would suppress their practices. So that one is it does have a traditional and customary practices exemption. Just clarifying that Native Hawaiian birth practitioners are not subject to regulation under the statute that's being proposed. So that's the vehicle that's alive for the board's position on that. And then there were just a few new resolutions that we added. Number 30, there is literally no more description, but the benefit I can tell you of having Hawaii added into the region is to the extent there are Department of Justice resources made available to help investigate missing or murdered Indigenous women, then Hawaii would be able to take advantage of those funds if we are added to that region. That's Rep. Souza's bill or resolution that is consistent with other bills that we've taken supporting that program.
That's a good thing, right?
It's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we're supporting it.
Yeah.
I was just noting it because it's new
I see.
on here. Yeah. And there was one other new one to support community health workers. And this benefits Native Hawaiians who are in rural areas because they're people who can provide services out in the community. Kind of representing health institutions out in the community. So that's why we'd also like to support that one.
Oh, okay. Trustees, any questions or comments? Oh, okay. Seeing none, then I'll hear a motion to adopt the approval of staff's recommendations for positions for bills affecting Native Hawaiian health as reflected in Matrix 6. Vice Chair moves, second by Trustee Whitehead. Any further discussion? Okay, we're ready for the vote. Leanne?
Trustee Ahuna.
Aye.
Trustee Akaka. Trustee Akina.
Aye.
Trustee Alapa.
Yes.
Trustee Kahele. Trustee Lindsay. Trustee Souza.
Aye.
Trustee Waihe'e. Chair Galutaria.
Aye.
Unanimous 9 yes votes.
Okay, mahalo. All right, our next item is OHA position on bills affecting Native Hawaiian education, Matrix 7. Leanne, any testifiers?
No testifiers, Chair.
Mahalo. Leanala?
So there's nothing new on this one. These are all bills that we've been supporting for a while this session.
Okay, trustees, any comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll need a motion to approve the staff's recommendations for position on bills affecting Native Hawaiian education, Matrix 7. Oh, wow. You like beef this one out? Okay, moved by trustee, our vice chair, and second by trustee Alapa. Any other comments? None? Okay, Leanne?
Trustee Ahuna.
Aye.
Trustee Akaka.
Aye.
Trustee Akina.
Aye.
Trustee Alapa.
Yes.
Trustee Kahele. Trustee Lindsay. Trustee Souza.
Aye.
Trustee Waihe'e.
Yes.
Chair Galutaria.
Aye.
Unanimous passes by vote of 9.
Okay, mahalo, chair. Mahalo, board. I'm the chair. Lolo. You need some levity in these meetings sometimes, okay? Let's move to all position on bills affecting Native Hawaiian economic development, Matrix 8. Lei, any testifiers?
No testifiers.
All right, let me see. Leanala.
So no changes. Both of these, 1 and 2 are still alive. And 3 is not going to make the next deadline, but these are bills we've been supporting for a while, so no changes.
Okay, very good. Any questions? Any comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll need a motion to approve the staff's recommendations for position on bills affecting Native Hawaiian economic development in Matrix 8. Moved by Vice Chair, second by Trustee Lindsay. Okay. Any further comments? Seeing none, Leanne?
Trustee Ahuna.
Aye.
Trustee Akaka. Trustee Aquino.
Aye.
Trustee Alapa. Trustee Kahele. Trustee Lindsay. Trustee Souza. Trustee Wahehe.
Yes.
Chair Galutaria.
All right.
Unanimous with a vote of 9 yes votes.
Mahalo. Okay. Okay, the final item for the legislative matrices. Okay, this is to take a look at the OHA position on bills affecting HRS Chapter 6E, EV Kupuna Matrix 9. Any testifiers? Leanne?
No testifiers, Chair.
You're very good. Leonardo, please proceed.
So I just wanted to flag the changes that the board needs to consider. Item 2 and 4 are both bills that require DLNR to contract out their historic preservation review to a third-party private consultant if they're not able to finish it after 60 days. And we've been commenting on this bill. We would like to upgrade it to oppose because, we've talked about this with SHPD. There's a very small group of individuals who would be qualified to be these third-party contractors, and most of them are already employed by large developers. So there's kind of this inherent conflict of interest in requiring the government agency to contract out its review to third parties. And then it's also going to create additional burdens for SHPD because they still have to review and manage these third-party contractors. So even though the goal of the bill is to expedite review, SHPD is saying it's not going to expedite review. And they agree. They're also concerned about even just the time it'll take to vet conflict of interest before they can select which contractor would be able to review which project. So that's the request on HB 830 and SB 1002 is just to make it.
Okay, so SHPD is saying that this added layer is not necessary.
They're saying it's not going to expedite review. That's the goal of the bill, is to expedite review, but it's not going to expedite review because they're not going to be able to contract out at the pace that is expected under the bill.
Okay, proceed.
So that's 2 of the changes. And then number 3, SB 79. This is a bill that proposes this new system of basically categorizing the map into risk areas based on like previous development, previous archaeological inventory survey. And we've been working, since we published this last week, I would actually say it would still be common because they have adopted, we were trying to get that bill to be more in line with SB 1263, which proposes the same thing, but had OHA as a consulting party on how you create that inventory, and the IBCs, that was our requested amendment. And OHA's requested amendment is now in both of those bills. So we don't actually need to oppose it because we've been successful in trying to improve the program that they're trying to create essentially. And we will be a consulting party on this risk assessment system, which actually is something that we think could help expedite review and also provide greater protection to EV Kupuna, because it'd be kind of creating a pre-existing library of like, where are the areas that there's likely to be EV Kupuna because it's sandy deposits where we know that a lot of EV were traditionally buried, or because there's been previous discoveries in the area. So it would just provide like more information up front before development starts. And we think if done correctly, this is what the military currently does, it could be very helpful to actually putting project developers on notice about high risk areas. And that's why we wanted OHA and the IBCs to have a seat at the table to make sure this is done correctly. So that's just our advocacy on SB 79 and SB 1263. So no need to change those.
Okay. Anything else? No? Any questions, trustees? Any comments? Seeing none, I'll need a motion to, let me see, hold on. A motion to adopt the approval of staff's recommendations for positions on bills affecting HRS Chapter 6E, EV Kupuna Matrix 9. Vice Chair, was that you? Okay, so moved. Second? second by Trustee Wahe. Any other final comments for this matrix? Seeing none. Leanne?
Trustee Ahuna, Trustee Akaka,
Aye.
Trustee Akina,
Aye.
Trustee Alapa, Trustee Kahele, Trustee Lindsay, Trustee Souza,
Aye.
Trustee Wahehe,
Yes.
Chair Galuteria,
Aye.
passes unanimous, 9 yes votes.
Mahalo and Nui Lord. So that concludes our legislative discussion for today. Lynn Hala, thank you so much for your hard work.
Mahalo.
We appreciate it so much. And Kapuana, thank you too for being there when we need the testifying. Okay. All right, so that completes our agenda for today. Well, the next one is community concerns and celebrations. Anything that we can share? Anything that you folks would like to bring to the table? Any testifiers in this way? Anything that the community wants to share?
We have one testifier, Jermaine Myers.
Oh, okay. All right, let's go to Jermaine. Jermaine, can you hear us?
Aloha, Chair. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay, proceed, please.
Sorry for the frog in my throat. Aloha, Chair, trustees. My name is Jermaine Myers. My community concerns. DHHL lands. From 1995 to 2005, the legislature gave DHHL $30 million per year for lot development for a total of $300 million. Then from 2005 to 2015, the legislature continued to commit $30 million per year for lot development. By 2015, DHHL received an additional $300 million for lot development. So over the 20-year period, they received $600 million for lot development. So going back to 2005, DHHL Chair Micah Kane began a new program issuing undivided interest paper leases. From 2005 to 2007, Chair Kane issued a total of 1,434 paper leases. You can track these paper leases on the Hawaiian Homes Commission monthly meeting report D-1. As of the end of last year, December 2024, DHHL converted only 578 undivided interest paper leases to land leases. Over 100 rescinded their undivided interests. Therefore, as of December 2024, 731 undivided paper leases are still waiting for land. Over 700 beneficiaries have waited for the past 20 years to receive land leases. Why is OHA and some Hawaiian leaders praising DHHL for now issuing more undivided interest paper leases when in fact DHHL and Chair Cully Watson deviated from the original Act 279 strategic plan of 2022 and budget that would have provided land leases to these 700 beneficiaries with undivided paper leases for 20 years. And praising DHHL for now issuing more undivided paper leases. Just give DHHL more money and hope and wish they develop lots. And if you read their report of how they spent Act 279 monies in fiscal year 24, they spent $363 million to only remove 185 people from the wait list. They didn't even touch these undivided people who've been waiting 20 years. You need to speak to those kopuna why you are at supporting DHHL after receiving all of this $600 million, not taking none of them, none of these 700 people. Go watch the monthly report and see how no movement was done. Explain to them why other people are now joining them on this paper lease train to nowhere that never went anywhere for 20 years. Then we have DHHL also giving our lands to the state to fulfill its energy mandate. Why not use DLNR land? Why not use DOT land? Why not buy private land? Why are you using our 200,000 acres of land, DHHL land? First, we got more land on Hawaiian Island, on the Big Island. First, they're talking about drilling holes, geothermal development on Mauna Kea on DHHL lands. Why using our land? Then yesterday at the Hawaiian Affairs Committee, Senate Committee Resolution 168, Senate Concurrent Resolution 168, Senate Resolution 137, requesting the Department of Hawaiian Homelands to develop and implement a water access pilot project demonstrating the Kohala region's capacity for potable water systems. They failed to discuss during this committee that in the bill or in the resolution, it's talking about putting wind farms on Kauai High using the water, potable water from this project. Why is it that our communities, our Native Hawaiian communities, are being inundated with windmills now? Why are we proposing to put windmills in our communities on our lands? Why are we proposing to drill the land for geothermal on our Hawaiian homelands? This is what OHA needs to look into. Ke'a kuapua, God bless all of you.
Mahalo. Thank you for your passion. Any other community concerns or celebrations that we want to share? No, seeing none. Any announcements? Oh, Trustee Akaka.
Yeah, to share that on March 21st, 2025, there was the welcoming and greeting of the royal family of Pohnpei, myself along with Hailama, and those here at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs that were available to join us, welcomed with Oli and Lei, and it was a really nice opportunity to interface with the ali'i of Pohnpei, as the last time that we had interacted with them was during the FestPac and Talanoa and so forth. So that was nice.
Well, mahalo for representing us. Appreciate that. Any other announcements? Trustee Alapa.
So speaking of, a few days ago, I attended the reception for the ambassador of Portugal, right? And it was wonderful to meet and to chat and to see how in which they interrelate with us, besides the fact that we get Portuguese involved, so as our ethnicity. And he was really nice to share what they're doing and what they'll be visiting our islands and so forth. So, and of course, Kapohana was there. Stacey, you want to share a little bit about your interaction?
Yeah, it was fun, and I was told that I pronounced my last name incorrectly. It's Ferreira, and so I asked this board to help normalize the correct saying of it. Malo. And I think I was probably one of the more blood quantum Portuguese in attendance, but it was a great event. They also had the representative from the Portuguese embassy in San Francisco that was also there, and they spent some time talking with Trustee Alapa and I. So it was good to have time to create pilina with them. Mahalo.
Yeah, and Trustee Susan and I had lunch with the ambassador, and it was really interesting. They were quite they approved of the Portuguese jokes that we told them. Interesting, talking to the ambassador of Portugal, Portuguese jokes. Trustee Susan.
No, I didn't want to be disrespectful, but he actually encouraged it. Yeah, he said, "Hey, you guys got any good Portuguese jokes?" I'm like, "Oh, really?" Oh,
that was
we
that
actually
was interesting.
we went to the Senate room and had lunch with President Kochi and a few members of the House and Senate who are Portuguese, of course. Nobody else was welcome. But we had Korean food, believe it or not. It was Korean food, and we attempted to sing a song, a Hawaiian song, on a Portuguese instrument that was inoperable. That was Senator Kurt Favela's ukulele that hasn't been played for the last 20 years. So go to
Hey,
10.
that was a
but
Portuguese legislator. Huh?
you can't make that up. Yeah. So no, it was a great day. So mahalo.
Mahalo. Anything else, board? Oh, trustee, wait, hold on, trustee Akina. Trustee Ahuna.
Okay, thank you. I think that on Wednesday, the 26th, we went to Mauna Ala to attend the Prince Kuhio annual celebration. I'm glad that Kapuhana was able to accompany me. Then on Friday, I believe, we had the lei draping for Kauikeauli down at the Thomas Square. And Trustee Souza did a fine job of giving a presentation. And I was able to be there with Kapuana.
Very good, mahalo. Mahalo. One final? You have any final thoughts? No? No more announcements? Okay, I'll take a motion to, and at 11 o'clock is the next meeting, okay? So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the April 2nd meeting of the Committee on Beneficiary Advocacy and Empowerment Committee. Okay, whomever moved in second, it's fine with me. Go ahead, Leah.
Trustee Ahuna, Trustee Akaka,
Aye.
Trustee Aquino,
Aye.
Trustee Alapa, Trustee Kahele, Trustee Lindsay, Trustee Souza, Trustee Waihe'e,
Yes.
Chair Galutario.
Aye.
9 yes votes,
All right,
unanimous.
this meeting's adjourned.